Okay, hello and welcome everyone. In today's video, today we are talking about how we can integrate a Shopify store with an application that is built using Five. Now this can easily be done by using Shopify's API and passing that into the connection wizard of Five. Okay, so let's get started. First things first, log into your Shopify store as an admin, so you'll get this view. Over here, what you want to do is you want to click on settings. And now here we want to create a custom application that handles our API. Now that can be done by clicking on apps and sales channel, which will list every single application in your store right now. Here you want to create a custom app, and that can be done by clicking on develop apps. Okay, so here currently, as you can see, I already have an app ready which handles my API. So let's build another one. So let's create an app. Call it anything you want. I'll just call it API test for now. And now select create app. Okay, now we want to configure the scope of our API, and that can be done by clicking on configurations. So just click over here, configure admin API scopes. So here you can basically just toggle what kind of data you want your API to have access to. So for example, I'm gonna do some analytics, customers, let's do inventory, and maybe even products and orders and products. Now for the purpose of this tutorial, we will only be using the products. Okay, so once you are done configuring your API over here, go ahead and click on save. Okay, once you're done with that, now click on API credentials. Okay, so now what you want to do over here is that you want to install your app, and then, so you like install, and then Shopify will generate a admin API access token for you over here. Now this token can only be revealed once, and once it's revealed, you cannot view it again. So my recommendation is that once you view it, store it somewhere secure so that you can access it whenever you want. Okay, now let's open up Five. Okay, inside Five, let's create a new app. So add item, name it anything you want. I'll just call it Shopify app, and let's click on save, and then manage. And now I'm inside development environment. Over here, I want to jump on into the connection wizard. So I'll click on data and then connection wizard. If you're new to Five and you don't know how the connection wizard works, make sure to watch our video on it. I'll put the link down in the description. Okay, so over here, let's give it in the web service, let's put new. Let's give it an ID. I'll just call it Shopify. That's the ID. And for the name, we'll call it Five Test Store, because that's the name of my store that I'm using. Okay, after that, let's click over here which says read list mapping. Now currently it's asking for a get endpoint. Over here, what we're gonna pass is over this URL. Okay, so this is the kind of URL that Shopify expects for its API. Now over here, you'll just replace Five Test Store with the name of your own store. And over here, you just put the latest version of your API. So that can be found inside actually the documentation of Shopify. I'll put a link of a blog post as well, which contains basically all the links of all of the resources that you would need to make this app work. All right, once we have done actually pass in our URL, what you're gonna do is you're gonna also pass in a header. Now inside the header, we wanna pass in our Shopify admin API token that we saved earlier. Okay, so in the names section, you wanna pass in this x/Shopify/access token. Now over here in the value, you're gonna paste your admin API access token that we saved earlier. So of course I'm gonna show it. So go ahead and paste that information. Now, once we have done with headers, let's click on send now. And bam, you get details of all your products over here in this JSON file. Now, if you click on field mapping, you will see how Five understands our response. And over here, it's basically trying to map everything. It recognizes the ID as the primary key, and it's recognizing everything else. Over here, you have the freedom to actually change around the data type and the display type, basically how they are displayed in the application. Currently, I'll just leave everything as default. And let's move on to the next one, which is read single mapping. Now basically you need to repeat the steps for every single one of them as well. The only difference is that for read single mapping, you need to pass a URL that looks something like this. The only difference over here is that for read single, we are adding another extension where we are adding a variable called as .id. So inside whatever ID you pass inside this variable, it'll show the details of that particular product. Now now we need the exact same URL for updating single and deleting single as well. For creating single, we can use the same one as in our read list mapping, because it just needs to create a product. Okay, so just before saving, make sure that all of your individual tabs will need their own headers. So you need to pass in your API token for each one of these. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is let's just simply click on save. Okay, and now we're done. Now basically now you have saved this connection as a data source inside 5, and now you have the freedom to use it nearly anywhere you want. For example, if I click on visual, let's go to charts, really chart wizard. Inside the chart wizard, you see data source, and you can easily use your API as data source over here. For example, in the X value column, let's select something that makes sense from my products. Let's select title. And the Y value column, we can select anything that makes sense for now. Let's select the height, and bam, you have a chart in front of you, which actually shows the height of each snowboard. Okay. Of course, you can also build reports from these from the data source. Basically, you have the freedom. What we'll do now is we'll simply create a form to see if our data is working or not. So let's select 5 testo. 5 watermelon fills in most of my information for me. So let's click on next. Here I have all of my records. So let's just keep things as it is and click on save again. Now let's run our application and see how our app looks like right now. Okay, so bam, this is the first time we're running our application, and you can see that we have a form that contains all of our products. If I click on one of them, I get my details right over here. Now, of course, this is just a tutorial of how you can connect your Shopify API to 5. Of course, now you can do anything with the data, build an application on top of it. You have the freedom to mess around with that as much as you want. Okay, so that's it for today's video. If you like today's content, make sure to like and subscribe. Until then, see you all very soon, and thank you very much.